podcast. Today I'm joined by Sports Specialist, Performance Coach, S&C Coach, fellow Beardy, and a fellow Mike as well.
Yeah.
Strong name.
Forgot about that,
Yeah, how are you, mate?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure, mate, my pleasure. Dava basically was just hounding me in my DM saying, get him on.
Yeah. To be honest, I think Dava's trying to stop me from beasting him in
Is
a
it?
situation.
Is that what it is?
We've had a good chat, and we've said to him, look, because he's a unit.
Yeah.
And I said, look, dude, if we can get you an engine and sort out a few things, I think you could be an absolute monster for Mac Rugby, second row.
That's huge.
And I think on one hand I'm like, it's really nice he's done this, but I'm thinking, hold on, is he deflecting? Do you know what I mean? Is he trying to stop me from getting hold of him? Do you know what I mean?
Possibly, mate.
But I've known Davos for years. I think it's in the 10 years or something since I started with Mac. So,
wow.
And I've kind of went away in that time as well. So, I get on with him really well. And
He is, like, just so for like the people listening, Paul's one of my longest friends.
Oh, right, okay.
And he is, what was he, about 18, 19 stone?
Oh, I think he was bigger than that
Bigger.
at one point.
He's probably 6'6", 6'5".
Yeah.
So my daughter, whenever he comes around, and my daughter just stares at him like, who is this monster of a
Should
man?
just paint him green.
Yeah.
Like for World Book Day or whatever.
Yeah,
Should have had him
exactly,
painted green. It's amazing though, because he's a unit, but he's a good lad and everything. Do you know what I mean? Massive United fan as well, so we get on quite well.
That helps, doesn't it, mate?
Yeah,
It does.
certainly does.
So there we go, fellow United fan as well. Perfect guest for the show.
Yeah.
So can you just tell us a little bit about your career so far, mate, a little bit about your background?
Yeah. So this is rewinding way back. I actually went on to a kind of a degree course, having been told at college I wouldn't be able to go and do a degree or anything like that. So I went to Carolan MSc and chose this really random sports course, and it looked good on paper, but when I got there, you had to, I don't know if you know Carolan MSc, the university at all.
I do know Crew, yeah.
Yeah, you get the train to Crew, you walk down from the train station, which is like a mile, and then I had to get the bus to Alsager. So it's like every morning it was a nightmare, and I didn't really get into the course. I didn't fall in love with it. Playing football and doing track and field and stuff like that, I'd done my ankle in, and I saw a physio on the campus. We had a good chat. She gave me loads of exercises to do, and which was distinctly different from the NHS. It's like, there's no electric therapy. There wasn't much other than, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to think about your core exercises and some other stuff. Thinking this is really cool, and I literally went home that night. I was like, Mum, I'm going back to college. I want to go to university and do A, B, C, D. I'd already planned out the next few years, and she was like, great, okay. She didn't really know what to say. She was like, if you want to do it, you do it. So I went back to college, started applying for various places. I got a place at Sheffield onto a physiotherapy degree, and then from there also got eventually onto Salford after the admissions tutor, who I now work alongside at Salford. He kept rejecting me, rang me up one day, he's like, Mike, why do you keep applying? Because I want to do sports rehab. And then went from there. That was started in 2003, finished in 2006, and essentially started out as a kind of a half personal trainer, half massage therapist. Right. So I was working with a personal training company, quite a well-known one, so I won't name and shame them, so to speak. But they were good guys. They gave me an opportunity, and everything. And I was working alongside a chiropractor, doing loads of health and fitness rehab type stuff. And when I wasn't doing that, I was doing a couple of bits and bobs with a couple of other clinics in Manchester and everything. And I guess it was quite timely. I ruptured my ACL, my cruciate ligament, in kind of 2008, and I thought I could either spend a year playing FIFA, while I do my rehab, or I could, do something with it. So I did a master's degree at MMU in Crewe, but it was a distance learning one, so I didn't have to go there that often. And that was really good because it exposed me a little bit to kind of sport and exercise science, specifically around biomechanics and sports injury and things like that. And I've essentially, my mates joke all the time, like, how many jobs do I have on the go? Because I've never really, since I've qualified, never really had less than 3 or 4 jobs, kind of wearing different hats and stuff and jumping around doing different things. And I almost got down to 1 job, and then it's jumped right the way back up again. And I drive Katie, my wife, absolutely mental. I don't know how she puts up with me, to be honest. She can't keep up. I can't keep up sometimes. So yeah, I did that, recovered from the ACL, went on to, to kind of working at Salford a little bit part-time, set up a few clinics. and was doing some athletics coaching on the side and all that kind of stuff. And that was, I was good for about 5-6 years doing all that, you know, getting a really good experience teaching and, you know, working with various different populations. And it was a weird situation because, you know, I'd done really well with Macclesfield. Jeff and Rugged and Giles were all, you know, a really good team. Guy Salmon was there. Obviously that's where my dad was.
Yeah.
And literally within a 2-year period, everything went up the wall, tits up, just everything. We sat there one day, we were planning a kind of a, you know, the next step for our business, me and my mate, in terms of actually building something like this, you know, like a performance centre with therapy on the side. That we had a bit of a mishap where a contractual loophole allowed one of our staff to essentially pull the rug from under us. Oh, wow. We lost the business within 3 months. You know, so I was thinking, my God. So I turned to the university, and I was only part-time at the time. I was like a sessional person, you know, a guest lecturer. And they said, actually, we've not got any opportunities for you to kind of go any further forwards. I was thinking, crap, you know, I need to do some study. I'm now getting into debt, you know, because I'd lost a big chunk of my income. Yeah. What do I do? So I literally took a lateral step, did a load of strength and conditioning and nutrition courses on the side, by some of my athletic stuff, and self-funding. And I actually went and worked with the military for 3.5 years. And again, I thought, this is going to be good. It's a fresh start, fresh step. Ministry of Defence is going to be really well oiled. Yeah. And I got there to Chester as a kind of an exercise rehab instructor. And the doctor said, we don't have any formal rehab. We've got 150 soldiers injured.
Oh my God.
There's a 3 to 4 week waiting list. And I was like, what have I done? You know, I was like, what have I done? And I chose not to stay on the camp because they offered you, like, they give you bed and board and stuff like that. So it's like I drive there every day. So I started getting up at 5 a.m. so I could exercise before I started work, all that kind of stuff. And although it was really daunting and really tough, it was an amazing experience because I basically got to set it up how I wanted to set it up. Yeah. And it was my baby, so to speak. And
of course, building from the ground up.
Stuff. Yeah, it was incredible. It was so hard, but it shifted my perspective on a lot of things and where everything sits. And the only reason I actually left that was because the MOD announced they were going to shut the camp. Right. And it went from a long-term contract to a monthly contract, which became a little bit untenable when they're saying, you know, you need it, but we can't give you more than 30 days. So. And then, you know, a couple of jobs came up. One came up at Middlesbrough Football Club, another came up at Salford Uni. 2 of the best interviews I've ever had, because usually I didn't really do well in interviews. I don't know why. I just kind of go off topic, wouldn't answer a question or something, and it never really clicked. They did. I put that down to Katie because she coached me. Kind of, you know, she's like, don't say this, do this, do this. So she's been really good in that respect, supporting me and everything. And I decided to go to Salford. Yeah. And then from there, I just built upon adding bolt-ons again, some more jobs. Yeah. Some of it's in track and field performance coaching, some of it's in working with England and GB basketball as kind of a performance therapist. So kind of a half and half hybrid. You know, kind of doing some of the therapy stuff and the trauma stuff when we're away on tournament. Yeah. But then also kind of liaising with the S&C coaches and trying to make sure that the guys and girls are doing whatever they're putting in place while we're away, wherever it is in the world and stuff like that.
That's incredible.
And that's cool. That's really cool. So last year I went to Israel with the GB under-20s. Yeah. We were expected to get relegated, and we beat the number 1 seed, Serbia, who then got relegated from Division A. Wow. So I don't know if you know basketball, but Luka Doncic had played for them the year before. Right. And he's this 20-year-old superstar going toe-to-toe with LeBron James now in the NBA. Jesus. So, you know, he's a really, really good player. And
basketball definitely ain't my field, but I know who LeBron James is.
Yeah, and it is surreal because, you know, you've got NBA drafts playing in the under-20s, and literally the infrastructure in Israel was incredible. Like we went to the final and watched Israel-Spain, and there was like 6,000 people, and there was 10,000 outside watching on the screens, you know, waiting for tickets.
This was under-20s?
Yeah, under-20s. It was. Wow. You would think it was like this, you know, like the Football World Cup. There was such a buzz around Tel Aviv. It was really cool. And obviously I'm back now with Macclesfield Rugby, so working with kind of Andy Appleyard and Rick Jones and the rest of the team there and stuff like that. I'd kind of been away for 4 or 5 years, so to speak. There was just a change in coaching staff and change in backroom staff as well.
It's been quite recent, hasn't it, that with Matt Rugby?
Yeah, that's in the last, well, started last July with them. So kind of working alongside Jay. You know, Jay does a lot of the physical. Well, to be honest, we both talk about what we want to get out of sessions with them. Because it's part-time rugby, it's tough because you don't have the time to build a big plan. You're looking for that minimal effective dose.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, I'm essentially spinning plates all the time, you know, and everything. But having grew up in Gorton in Manchester, for me, I don't really see it as a job.
Yeah.
It is a job, and sometimes your jobs remind you it's a job, and there's a lot of other stuff to do, you know, like we talked about earlier, like admin and, you know, self-promotion and making sure that everything that you need to do so you can do your job is done. So like tax in January, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I
stuff.
always do it so late. You know what I mean?
Everyone does do it.
Yeah.
Does it on time.
I literally intend to go, right, June, July, August, going to do it, and then I never do it, and then it's like, I need to do it.
Yeah, when you've got that many jobs to do, I can imagine it's quite hard.
Oh mate, and I get to Christmas and I go, well, I've got some time. I'm not going to do it then. And then it's like January, and it's like January 15th, and it's like 20th, and then next thing it's 29th, and like, right, I need to take a day. I need to take a day off. It's got to get done now. So, you know, and that's essentially a whistle-stop tour of everything I've done. But there's been so many different iterations around it, so to speak. 'Cause I mean, I've been qualified now for 13, 14 years, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't really know a lot about everything that I do, if that makes sense. I used to think I did. And I now tell my students about the whole Dunning-Kruger curve thing, you know, where early on in your career you think you know everything, and then the further you go on, you actually realise the less you know, and there's a lot more out there to learn. Do you know what I mean?
Like one of my favourite podcasts and one of my favourite strength coaches, Joe DeFranco.
Yeah.
And he's got the whole white belt mentality.
Yeah.
You should always have it. Doesn't matter how much you know, you can always know more or learn more. Yeah. Especially in the fitness industry, in the sports field, it's never ending. No. It really isn't. If you had to kind of pigeonhole yourself into one area, what would you say your speciality really, where it really lies?
I think, I'm going back years ago, before I did all this, I used to be a youth worker.
Right.
And, you know, I just found out I was dyslexic. I mean, it sounds like a terminal diagnosis, and it's not. You know, it's like, now my students, you know, they make it out like it's some big cross to bear. But at the time I was like 19, 20, and I was like thinking, you know, well, this is why I struggled for so long with all my studies and everything. And I was working with another development officer, and he worked in special needs and disabilities, learning difficulties and everything. And the first thing he said was, so what are you good at? I was like, you know, most of the time when you say, oh, I'm dyslexic and I can't read, I can't do this, or I struggle with this. And he went, no, what are you good at? What do you mean? And he's like, well, your brain might not be good at that, but it's going to be really good at something else. And I looked, I was like, crap. And don't get me wrong, I've done my master's degree. When I did my dissertation, I was cursing the brain. You know, I was like, why can't you just write this? You know, Katie wrote a dissertation overnight, and she got a first, and I was like, I hate you right now. I don't know. Mine took me like 3 months, you know what I mean? But I guess really it's being able to look at a big picture of a situation, whether it's, you know, a tournament for basketball or, you know, the season with rugby, and looking at the logistics of everything and essentially making a call. And it is really tough because a lot of it's based on human communication, you know, logistics, personality, psychology, and then from there you go, okay, so what's the goal? You know, so if we use Davids as an example, he's an absolute unit, but he often jokes and says, please don't make me run. And he'll probably watch this or listen to this, and I'll get a message and be like, dude, why are you name dropping me? You know? But again, it's okay. So how do we actually, you know, develop something like that within a person that's either, you know, thinks they're not built to run, or, you know, mechanically might need some work, and then you look at everything and go, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I try and do that with most things, and kind of cut through all the grey area, and then come to a decision. And it's never easy, and sometimes it's a developing, you know, ongoing development process. So I guess it's more of I see myself more as a problem solver. Yeah. Because some people do pigeonhole me as, you know, an S&C coach or a track coach or the rehab guy, or, you know, like I said, my students first years especially seem to think I'm like this pseudo Ant Middleton, you know, a bit of a scary lecturer, so to speak. And I'm like, don't even know where this has come from. And I don't, it must be the beard.
I think it is, yeah, because I get that.
Yeah, so.
No one says hi to me in the street anymore.
And yeah, you smile at them and they're like,
yeah,
you know.
agenda.
See, I would say more of a problem solver, someone that can kind of parachute into a situation, have a conversation, and within a specialty, you know, within my kind of exercise, rehab, S&C kind of world, so to speak. And if I don't know something, I'm going to ask someone. You know what I mean? The one thing I'm going to do is go, right, if it's something to do with biomechanics, I've got a friend at University of Salford who, his brain is ridiculously massive, you know, it's huge. And I'll go, John, help me out, because I've not got a clue. And again, it's that knowing what I don't know now, it, for me, is quite powerful.
Staying in your lanes with it, I guess, as well.
Yeah. Whereas when I was 22, 23 years an early grad, you know, I thought I was literally the second coming. You know, I was telling everybody I was amazing.
Did the same thing. I remember taking on one of my very first clients who was a golfer. I was like, right, that's it now. I've got a golfer. I'm an S&C coach, and he was like, oh, I need to lose a bit of weight, so I did a little bit of nutrition with him. I'm like, I'm a nutritionist now as well. I'm everything. You do, don't you? Then, as you like I said, as you get older, you realise. Speaking to people like Jay, yourself, one of my clients, she's trained to be a nutritionist, and speaking to her about nutrition, I'm like, oh man. Yeah, you don't know as much as you think.
Yeah, there's so much depth to everything, and really, like, even if you just read research and you're a researcher, and you then go and look at hamstring injuries, there's something ridiculous like 8 papers a week released just on hamstring injuries. But then if you want to funnel it and go, okay, well, what about, I don't know, strength training for hamstring injuries? There's probably another 4.
Yeah.
So then you got to read them every week and then put them into practice. So you're always behind anyway on all the kind of the new research and data and everything like that, so to speak. And that's the thing, is you've got theories that go back in S&C to the 50s, you know, with, you know, East Germany, Russia, the Russians, etc. And only now are we actually finding out that some of that stuff that they thought about back then was actually quite useful. So for me, it's kind of a big scary world, but it's kind of fun because I'm still learning, and it keeps me engaged within the situation and stuff.
Yeah, I guess going like segueing into like from what you just said about still learning, still learning what works and what doesn't work. We spoke a little bit about tools.
Yeah.
Didn't we, with the massage guns, the foam rollers versus the more traditional methods. So what are your opinions on the modern techniques, kind of versus the traditional? Yeah,
well, do you know, it's interesting. One of my friends, Mitch, was using a kind of a crane gauge to do an isometric mid by pull in the gym the other day, and you know, we were having a play at this, and he was like, I said, you know, what's your thoughts? And he's like, well, for the length of time it takes to set up, I only want a number, you know, to track, you know, a maximum mid-thigh pull. So again, he said, once I get this sorted, I'll be happy. But you know, he was scratching his, you know, we were both messing around with foot position and everything. And then when you've got, so say if we talk about, say, you know, like vibrating peanuts or, you know, pulse balls or rollers or whatever, depending on where you are in the world and what you're doing with it, it's how you use a tool.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest thing, is that, you know, anything can be useful. You know, we've both got water bottles and stuff like that, but if you don't drink it, it's essentially useless. And again, it's having that conversation how you use it. So, you know, if you're talking about nutrition with an app like logging app like MyFitnessPal, or you know, there's quite a few biomechanical apps now for my jump and things like that, looking at, you know, like a kind of reactive strength index for jump power and stuff. But having sat the other night with some of the guys from basketball and talked about testing, it's like, so how are we going to do this? What tech are we going to use? What's going to be easy enough to set up but give us enough information? So, and again, one of my bugbears is that, say, like with a pulse gun of any kind, you know, like a massage gun, if you have a niggly area like a hot spot, and all you do is batter the hot spot, and you don't really address why that angry hot spot, that tight tissue or whatever it is, occurs, you might settle it down, but there is a potential for you to either make it worse or not deal with that underlying problem. So again, it's kind of, you know, coming up with a logistical list of, right, so what's going on at the moment? Well, you're going to need some kind of massage work. You might need to look at, you know, something that will facilitate a change in your nutrition. And then you go look and go, okay, well, what's going to be the easiest thing to use for this person? You know, it's like, say, an elite athlete versus, you know, general public, gen pop. And then from that, that's where you go, right, this is what I'm going to help you with, this is what you need to do, and slowly but surely what I try and do with people now is go, this is how long you use it for, you do that, you facilitate this, and you start to build a conversation as to how to use the tool.
Yeah.
One of my things is that I'm crap with cars, so
okay.
one of my long-term things will be, I need to learn actually how to service a car a little bit, rather than just dump it with a mechanic, even if I've got a really good relationship with one, and go, sort that. I actually kind of need to be able to do some of this myself, because some of it is probably just a bit of self-care for the car, and I think that's where any tool, you know, kinesio taping, you know, some kind of blades or something like that, if you can use it in the right way and get the best out of it, then you know, get in a gym, load yourself up, become fitter, whatever it is, that's where we're moving forwards.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to look at it.
Yeah, because going back to the start of the career, I was kind of like a firefighter, just treating a lot of reactive stuff, you know, like cracking backs and, you know, releasing tissues. People hated my elbows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I still do that sometimes at Mac. You know, Davies will, you know, go running if he knows he needs something, releasing like his traps, and I get hold of him, and he curses me to hell. And not just him, but the other lads like Mossy and people like that. But again, it's in the short term that might be necessary. With rugby and a contact sport, you're going to need to give the guys a little bit of TLC and kind of calm angry tissues down, because you need them on the pitch on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's having that conversation with the coach as to what's necessary for the short-term stuff.
Yeah.
So you go away on tournament, you're going to need, you know, if it's a hot country, you're going to need hydration, you're going to need some stuff. If there's only one of you, if you've got a couple of vibrating rollers, for instance, or, you know, some tools that they can use to help self-manage so that you can deal with some of the bigger problems or the bigger injuries, and then talk to the coaches and all that, then it streamlines the whole process. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'll say so. And there's been a lot of, not like slandering with the massage guns, but a lot of kind of bad rep with them, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I think a lot of like the chiropractic will say they're kind of pointless, don't do anything. Yeah. But I guess it is, like I say, it's how you use them. Yeah. I've never even tried one.
Yeah.
I mean, you posted one on your Instagram story the other day, didn't you?
Yeah, I picked one up from Pulse Roll. I've got, you know, I know the owner of Pulse Roll quite well and stuff like that. He's done a lot of help with, in terms of, you know, helping some of the GB basketball teams and my athletes as well. And for me, it's a means to an end, so to speak. And don't get me wrong, I think if you've got some kind of spasmed or tight muscle, you've either overloaded it, so there's either some kind of loading reaction from exercise, like DOMS or whatever, or you've got an angry joint that muscle's associated with, and that joint's, or that kind of nervous tissue is probably telling the muscle to protect it. So in the short term, it might give you some relief, and again, it's the context of the situation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
definitely. You
know, I don't think you should sit there forever and a day just literally battering yourself. But the same way, you know, like if you're completely K-taping yourself all the time, or if you're just eating, you know, mega healthy, or whether you go high carb, low fat, whatever, or if you're, you know, doing tons of whatever it is, metabolic, CrossFit, strength training, you have to look for a reaction. You know what I mean? And it's the reaction that I think we forget a lot about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like most of the time, people will go away and they might have a week off, go on holiday, come back and do a set of PB in the gym or on the track or whatever. Yeah. And it's that adaptation that we're looking for, and that's all we're trying to do. Whether it's therapy, intervention, having a chat, you're trying to elicit a response, and again, a Theragun is a way of calming things down. Yeah. So
it's like film rolling as well, isn't it? Like, got a bad rap for years. People say, I think Dave Tate, like not saying Dave Tate is a massive inspiration in the powerlifting world, but if I'm starting off, dry humping a roller or on my back, I'm doing something wrong. But I know, like for me, if I start with a little bit of rolling, just get things moving and feeling, all right, the effects might be short term, but then if that allows me to move a bit there, and I can get more blood flow into the area, and there we go, we're off to a flyer. Can you touch on a little bit with your kind of performance-based coaching with Team GB?
Yeah, so recently I went to the National Indoor Championships with Andy Robertson. So he's one of my kind of sprinters I work with. He's kind of probably the most, at this point in time, the most talented. I do some other work with some other sprinters and jumpers there and stuff like that. So Trinity Powell she's 16, 17 years old now. She won the Northern 60 metre indoor under 20 championships. So she beat a load of 18, 19-year-olds. Okay. And then she went to the national under 20 championships and came second. Right. So she's a very talented athlete. And so I'll do some individual kind of S&C-esque, but again, I just see it as problem solving. So if you've got someone that struggles to get out of the blocks, then I'm going to use some kind of strength or power-based intervention. But at the same time, I'm also going to get a camera or, you know, use my phone and look at their first step, you know, angle of projection, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
With GB and England, it's synonymous a little bit with some of the therapy stuff. But again, what I'm looking at is how can we build someone that's relatively resilient or robust, that essentially can self-manage themselves as well. You know, because I'm quite big on empowerment. You know, going out there and getting out your comfort zone, but essentially dictating what you're going to do. Because really and truly, when they're on the track, the court, whatever it is, or even if, like, you know, in the past, I've had, you know, one-to-one PT clients or, you know, like group clients and whatever. At some point, they're going to be on their own and have to do something themselves. Yeah. So, I guess that's where it suits me being a lecturer as well, because it's all about education. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, with the performance coaching side of things, it is trying to move them from, you know, here's your Excel program or whatever it is, or, you know, whatever the Google Sheets are or whatever. Here's your program, and then we talk about the program and how we adjust it, and you know, moving from, say, whether it's a 16, 17, 18-year-old athlete into a 26, 27-year-old athlete, the goal for me really is at that point, they know the vertical goal, which is whatever it is, you know, be able to go on a rugby pitch and run it 3 blokes without getting sat down, or be able to change direction without compromising the knee. Do you know what I mean? And they can then come to me and say, right, I've hit all these markers and I'm happy with this, but this is what I think I need to work on, and they kind of can then drive it. So there's loads of stuff around, you know, like kind of athlete-centered or athlete-driven stuff, and I think, although on paper that sounds really good to do, it's really difficult to get into. Yeah. Because, like with anything, if you then have, like, say, an S&C coach, a nutritionist, a psychologist, there is, in some respects, the consumerism side of things, you know, like the expectation that, well, if you stood there and actually you're observing silently, you know, some people might think, well, like, are you coaching them, or are you doing this, you know? And at what point, it was really hard. One of my friends at uni, one of my colleagues, she said that when we do a lot of the step back stuff with the students where they run the session, she said it's really cool, but she finds it really hard to not teach. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that is a fine balance, because you want to be able to cue and kind of justify why you're there. Yeah. But when they go into, you know, race day, fight day, whatever it is, you know, you can't really do anything. And we said this at the champs with Andy, that, you know, I walk down, he's getting a little bit of treatment off his osteopath. Sorry about all the chiropractors, that I don't know if there's a bit of a thing or differences or whatever. I don't know. But he likes his osteo. You know, he's worked with him for years. And literally, I said, look, it's 90% you today. I said, I'm just going to watch you and give you 2 or 3 things to do, and that's it. And he really liked that, because I put the responsibility on him. Yeah. You know, this is his chance. This is what he needs to do. And you know, he ran quite well in the heats, semi-final. Okay. And I said, right, okay, with the semi-final, you just didn't attack the start. Let's attack the start. The rest of the race will look after itself. And he was much happier. Yeah. Whereas, you know, when we train, a lot of it is, you know, right, you're going to do this rep at this time. This is what I'm looking for. And then if he does it, great, we move on. If he doesn't, let's go back, do it again. Let's try this drill, let's try this exercise, so to speak. So it flips the other way. Yeah. You know what I mean? And again, a lot of the time, if there's other coaches, so like Andy's got, his dad is a bit of a Sir Alex Ferguson, you know, again, does a lot of the logistics and the big picture stuff. Yeah. So I'll talk to Sam a couple of times a month or something like that. But again, with the head coaches, whether it's at Macclesfield or, you know, at basketball, my essential kind of role with them is being able to coach them, but in terms of, this is where the squad's at, this is where the players are at, this is the situation, and again, build that dialogue into it, that, you know, look, you want 15 robust rugby players, you want a squad of 7 or 8 top quality, super fit basketball players, male, female. These are the deficits. This is what we need to do, and then go, okay, so what we're going to do about it? How can we fit that into the day or the week or the year? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's where I pull in some of the athletics, performance coaching stuff, and I do that with everything these days as well. And again, I drive my wife mental, because I semi-do that with her, and then I have to remember it's my wife, and you know, and stuff like that.
Take a step back. Yeah. We touched on, like I said, a little bit. We had a chat before we started recording about kind of like coaching and S&C for therapists, and tying it like all in with like the mental health side of things as well. Yeah. And you said some pretty cool stuff before about him.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, this is the next big step for whatever you want to call it, personal training, for S&C, physio, sports rehab, all that kind of stuff. Because with the government now talking about the fact that they recommend people to be doing 2 strength training sessions or resistance training sessions a week, to offset any potential long-term health effects. There's stuff coming out of Australia in terms of dementia research and information retention being huge in terms of just having people come in and do some kind of strength circuit or kind of group exercise session. Yeah. And then you've got even there's a piece of research I want to read where someone's looked at the fact that skeletal muscle could actually be classed as an endocrine organ, and how it actually affects us in terms of hormonal regulation. I just think it's huge, and there are some really good kind of people out there that are pushing this idea that exercise is actually a really, really good thing, and the more that we can do that, and if you think about it, back in the day, years and years ago, and I'm talking not 10 years ago, I'm talking 100 years ago, the UK essentially, was a relatively farming or industrial nation. Yeah. So the majority of people would have been very active, so to speak. Now, obviously diets have changed and things like that, and food's a lot more readily available, but we were relatively more active, so to speak. And you look at the research on the other side of it, that being sedentary and so essentially not doing a great deal of exercise is just as bad as being an alcoholic or a heavy smoker, or being morbidly obese. And I think when you then look at the big picture, which is the likes of the NHS and economics and the the kind of the government infrastructure in terms of the way healthcare is run, for me, I just think that if we can educate people on the benefits of exercise in the right kind of way, that you don't have to thrash yourself every single day.
Yeah, so that's one of my big pet peeves with that beast mode and all our members know my opinions on that.
And again, that's like I'll talk about beast mode. I'm like, well, that's an internal thing. It's not about like walking around the gym eyeballing everybody and like be dripping in sweat in a puddle on the floor or something, or you can't open your hands because you've lifted that many kettlebells and done that many carries. And I talk about this with everybody a lot, that what we're looking for is a stimulus. You're asking the body to do something, and then you're looking for reaction. And if you've got a 2-3-year-old kid and they're being a bit naughty, you're going to tell them off. But what you're looking for when you tell them off is for them not to do it again, in that reaction. Do you know what I mean? And that's the point of it, that I think the more we can do that stuff, though, I know the NHS is now hiring kind of group exercise instructors similar to what the military do for sports rehab and stuff, where graduates from those courses go into that as a role. And that's where I ended up with the military, kind of driving that whole rehab process. And I literally didn't do any hands-on other than some postural assessments, maybe a bit of taping. And the difference it made to the physios and what we had there was absolutely ridiculous. And I think moving away from just the performance stuff for PT, exercise, gyms, S&C, that's going to be over the next 10 years a big thing. Yeah. And I think the likes of BASRAT, the kind of the governing body for sports rehab, and the UKSCA and various other kind of iterations of that across the UK, the US, Australia, I think that will help a lot. Yeah. With the long-term kind of health of populations as well.
Yeah, you can see, you can kind of feel it already, a lot of the switch, especially with Gen Pop as well. Is a lot of, as much as I disagree with a lot of things with the CrossFit side of things, I think it's been a massive help in terms of getting strength training into the mainstream, hasn't it? It's become a lot more popular. A couple of years ago, you'd walk into a gym, you probably wouldn't see a power rack. Yeah. There'd be no power racks. There might be the odd bumper plate here and there. Kettlebells, I guess. The heaviest one was probably a 6 kilo kettlebell. Yeah.
And it was all taboo. It was all very. If someone did a clean or a kettle, like a single arm kettlebell swing or something, everyone would be looking like, and don't get me wrong. In some respects, I'm quite a fan of, not generic. That's not really a fair word. But your standard expectation of strength training. But I think that, like you say, the great thing CrossFit's done, I don't like the games, that's a personal thing. I just don't from the injury side of things, I'm just not a fan.
Yeah.
I think what they put themselves through is incredible. I just don't like seeing. I think a few years ago there was something like 20 pec tears at one of the games or something, something like that. And I could be misquoted there, but when I look at that, I'm like, could we have avoided that somehow?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I think, for women and for other populations, the way they scale exercises, the way they structure it, if you've got a good setup, a good coach, I think it's brilliant. I really do.
I think especially for females as well,
Yeah.
because again, over the past few years, like, you see so many more women now deadlifting, squatting, benching, doing powerlifting competitions, CrossFit whereas, I say, probably a decade ago, gyms had women's only sections where they had dumbbells up to 10 kilo, and that's what you got. You might get a little pump bar or something, so it is definitely getting more mainstream, which is brilliant.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, we were in the gym a while ago, and Katie actually beat a dude doing a deadlift comp. We were doing some 1RM testing, and she'd never done it, and we only did that for the session, and she said, I feel amazing. And this one of my friends came over and said, can I join you in the session? And I said, don't compete with her, because she's a strong girl. She's an ex-athlete, she's a very fit individual, and I was like, don't compete, because she's more competitive than I am. She's ridiculous. Played Mario Kart once, and that was it. Never played it again. Not allowed to play it.
No.
And she beat him, and that's, for me, that's huge. Not just for my wife, but for anybody. And I've found that everybody I've worked with since then, if I can dose them with a little bit of appropriate strength training, it makes a massive difference. We had guys hip thrusting 200 kilos that had really bad backs.
I saw your video on Instagram.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's from some of the recent stuff. I couldn't post anything from the military because of all the confidentiality. But we had guys there who had chronic low back pain for years. We were getting them rack pulling, deadlifting, front squatting, doing weighted carries, farmers carries, suitcase carries, that kind of thing. And the difference in a 6-week period was absolutely huge. And again, we worked out this really good situation with the physios where for 3 weeks they'd do a lot of the kind of the settling down, the angry tissue type work, and then we get them in the gym doing loads of metabolic conditioning work, and then loads of strength training. And I think it was something around 350 to 400 soldiers in that 3-year period that we discharged. Wow. And I was like, was there something here? And that's kind of set the soul out for where I'm going and where I want to go in the future and stuff like that. And I do think that for Gen Pop, it's weekend warriors and people like that want to go play rugby but they train twice a week or something. It's that population that's going to be huge for, and if it can help the NHS and the economy and everything else, I just think it's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. Going back to just being a fit nation again.
Yeah, definitely.
We touched on that a little bit with the military. Going into that a bit more, did you train? How did you make the training sessions different for military personnel, athletes, and Gen Pop? Are there differences?
There are and there aren't. Obviously, if you've got like an elite sprinter or someone like that, they're very, very, very powerful. Like, some of the guys down at the track can do a hip thrust with 250, 300 kilos for 5 reps like it's nothing. Bars bending away and stuff like that. They'll do a heavy step up with 150k again on one leg like it's nothing. Some of the triple jumpers, the bounds that they can do are ridiculous. They can stack boxes up to my height or higher, 6 foot, and jump on them and stuff like that. With the military guys, because of years ago with the Falklands War, there was a great need for their their cardiovascular systems to be really ramped up because they had to cover a great deal of ground. And it's changed a lot of the time. I know up until recently they had the same fitness tests from the 70s, 80s. So they've updated them now, which is brilliant, and incorporated in a lot more strength tasks and carry tasks and things like that. And I went to the colonel and said, look, Ben, this is a situation. We've got a load of overuse injuries, and we need to instigate appropriate kind of training, essentially akin to what you would do with a professional rugby team or football team. And I called them tactical elite athletes, and I phrased it like that we need to structure it better, and we just restructured it as if it was a training program, basically, but kind of structured around their week. Worked with the PTIs there, and worked. It came to a really good situation where the guys understood what the demands of the situation was. Obviously, if it's a gen pop person, and say a lady in her late 50s or something like that who's never strength trained before, the difference will be typically the load. But my goal with that will be to kind of de-escalate the scariness of the situation. And again, the whole kind of empowerment thing and kind of give, work with goals to set, so to speak. So there are similarities, because if you've got, like, again, going back to Andy, his goal is to run 998, get to the Olympic, championships and everything, and go to the final, maybe even win a medal. They're his goals, and then he's like, well, how are we going to do that? With a gen pop person, they might have back pain, or they might just want to lose weight. So okay, so what are the things that are going to stop you from doing that, and what problem in place? Again, and that's all it is. It literally, it's just the context. So, and I've got my students writing an assignment at the moment, and I've said context about 1 million times this week. That it's the person in front of you that you're working with at the time, and how you're then going to solve that problem, and what you're going to do. So taking principles of whatever it is, psychology, strength training, biomechanics, and going, okay, well, apply it to a female heptathlete, or to youth athletes. There's going to be differences, but the similarities and the principles are still going to be there. It's just how you use them with that person. And I think that's where there is a bit of overlap with that kind of stuff. It just makes it all really interesting and challenging along the way.
Mate, it sounds it. So it's one of the things of our job is I love the empowerment that you've gone to a few times, and I love seeing that when we get some of our female members hitting big numbers. A lot of times they outlifting some of the guys. Seeing the reaction, seeing the feedback, that's the thing I love. That's why I do what I do. I love that side of things.
It's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. What have you got as your future plans, mate, going forward? Obviously, you mentioned the Olympics.
Yeah, so we've got Olympic trials for Andy in June. So that's quite big, and that's actually in Manchester as well.
Okay.
So home track. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? But again, that's my job to de-emphasise that situation and frame it in a way that you go do your job, dude, and I'll worry about everything else, that kind of thing. Then we're kind of slowly but surely kind of developing, well, I'm actually constantly doing it, developing and redeveloping the Sports Rehab course at Salford, which essentially is a hybrid between physio and S&C, sports science. And it's kind of clinical exercise specialities, so to speak. So dealing with injuries, but at the same time using exercise as a big way of doing that. So the whole kind of, I talk about bed to performance, so all the hands-on treatment, acute stuff, taking them right the way through a rehab process, and then trying to develop relationships, placement opportunities, all that kind of stuff, and then after that, just essentially trying to not drive myself insane or burn myself out, and, find time in the day to exercise and everything else in between. I guess in the long term, it all changes. It depends on opportunities, what opportunities arise and stuff like that. My goals would be to support an athlete or a team of athletes at an Olympics, and then, but ultimately, I guess, do a good job, represent myself and my professions, because I'm kind of sports rehab and S&C, so to speak. And if I do something else in nutrition and become a nutritionist or a dietitian or whatever it is, then it'll be kind of a plethora. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, just enjoy the work and keep pushing, keep going and stuff like that. My personal goals in terms of fitness are just to stay fit and healthy. I'm 40 next year, so
I'll hit 39. I said you were 40.
I know. Well, it's just a good moisturiser. That's all it is. And the height helps. You know what I mean?
When you were saying about like in 2003, you were doing, I was like 2003. I was like, I was thinking, like, because we not spoke about obviously your age before. I was like, how old is Mike? 2000, I was 13.
I should have said I was a child genius. I went to university at 12 years old. No, but again, it's just, that's the thing for me. I look at it that, going back to exercise, that the reason I probably con people in terms of my age is because all my life I've always been active from 15, 16 years old, probably younger and everything. And again, now diet has a big role to play in that, as well as everything else, sleep, recovery, everything,
So you're 40 this year or next year? Sorry.
Next year. So that'll be a big do, because my uncle the month before is 60, so that'll be a month of some good celebrations.
Definitely.
So that is something to look forward to outside of all this. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's really important for us and for everybody as well, that keeping fit and enjoying your work's
Yeah.
a big thing. But I become quite, what's the word? It's not precious, but it's more I look at the logistics of the week and look at, right, when am I going to have, say, a lie-in, or when am I going to just have a chill day, or whatever. I'm a bit of a comic geek, and I grew up with X-Men and Marvel comics and stuff like that. So it's even stuff like that. I'll pick up a graphic novel, and it's like, and I'll sit there and I'll be like, I'm gonna just sit and just read this tonight, put the phone down, and stuff like that. Because even with that, with all the jobs, it's like you look at it, and you look at it, and you look at it again, and it's like, what am I doing? And you realise like fourth or fifth time, it's like I've gone on the same app, the same social media or whatever it is, 3 or 4 times within the hour. So yeah, doing stuff like that's really important these days as well.
So I turned 30 this year myself.
Yeah, nice.
And one of the things, like me and my fiance, since we've been together, we've never been on holiday together, like not abroad. So we're like, right, this year we're going away. Like the gym's been up and running now for a year this week. I don't actually know when this podcast is going to go out, so a year in March. So yeah, it was like a similar thing. Like for me, it was just going, right, get the gym done. I'm a coach at heart, but I've got to deal with the admin side of things. So look at your week and go, when can I make time for my fiance, my kids, having a nap? I love a nap, so we got to try and get a nap.
Don't get started. My wife loves a nap. I'm okay. I can cat nap. But she can. She's like, if there was an Olympic medal for that, she's really good at it. But do you know what? Again, like having listened to her, if you can fit a nap in, it's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's just really good. And again, but adding bolt-ons to you, like you've had this place, and there's so many different things that you've probably got to be able to do in that time. Marketing the place and stuff.
That's been my biggest struggle. I took the step of getting a business coach. And that was one of the biggest moves for me, was because I thought, like I said, I need help. I need help. And when they break it down to you, like I had a video call with him like the first week, and man, he just ripped me apart. And when he's saying all those things, I'm like, why wasn't I doing that? That cost me nothing. Why wasn't I just doing it? It's just simple things, like even with the Instagram posts, you say look through my Instagram, and he's like, most of the time you do talk like yourself, but every now and again you throw one of these posts up, and he's like, you sound like a dick. He's like, that's not how you talk. And I can't remember what the word was I used, but it was like, he called it using a £10 word instead of a 10p word. He went, when do you say that in real life? I said, how many times? I need to try and find a post, but
that'd be really cool.
I looked at it, and I was
you
like,
have to let me know.
I was like, why did I? Because I would never say that in everyday life. And it's reaching out and asking for help when you need it. Talking to social media, where can people find you? If you want them to find you.
No, I am on Instagram. I have kind of a work-ish page there, so it's just MC Sports Rehab. And I'm on LinkedIn. So it's just my name, Michael Carolan, and stuff like that. Facebook's relatively personal. I don't go on it much anymore. I'm not really on Snapchat or anything like that. And I don't really go on Twitter. I can't really.
Pretty much everyone I've spoke to recently said Twitter is used for keeping up to date with the rugby, the football, or whatever.
I don't know what it is. I kind of joined ages ago, didn't really jump on it, and then kind of haven't really been interested in that since, so to speak. Whether Instagram's just more visually biased to me and I kind of prefer that, I don't know. But even then, I'm not really prolific on it, so to speak. I'll throw up the odd story, the odd picture here and there and stuff like that. But again, when I'm coaching, I'm literally in the zone, and I'll be like, that was really good. And I was like, crap, I should have videoed it. And then it's like, I'm not going to ask them to redo it. No.